What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video of my mission experiences. Hey, so we're out of Comodoro. I almost said Kletlivia. We're out of Comodoro. Finally, I was in Comodoro for about 4.5 months, and now we're getting into the area that I served the longest in. I served almost 9 months in Ushuaia. I was there for a long time, and as you can see in this picture, I mean, just look at how beautiful this part of the world is. Just mind blowing how beautiful Ushuaia is. It's so much different than the rest of my mission. The rest of my mission was kind of desert and tundra y because it was cold still. It was just kind of a crazy place. So I got to Ushuaia just as the winter started. As you can see, my big old jacket here. Um, it was just a really cold area. I was originally sent to Ushuaia. I was sent to an area called Centro C. So that was downtown C. And it was a beautiful area. I really liked the area. This is exactly what my area looked like. It was very town. It was just a lot of the town was in that area. We had a really nice apartment, and it was just a really beautiful area that I really liked. And it was decently sized. It wasn't huge, it wasn't small. We lived a little bit outside of our area, so we did have to walk every day to get to our area, but it wasn't a big deal. So I started in the ward I was in. I'm trying to remember what it was called. Because there was Andino, Centro, and Montelivia. I think that's what it was called. So I think the ward was Centro was the ward. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. But anyways, great ward. I really loved that area. It was a lot of fun. Had a lot of really good, really fun investigators, and they made a lot of progress. So I was called to this area, and I was called to serve with Elder Riskin from Paraguay. He was a really good companion. I had talked about him when I was in Gaiman. He was in Parque, the area that was red zoned for U.S. missionaries. He was the elder, one of the elders serving in that area. Let's see here. Let's get that mouse out of the way. So in order to get to Ushuaia, they call it the island of Tierra del Fuego, the island on fire. Fun fact about that, why it's named that is the natives back when the world was being discovered, when the island Tierra del Fuego was discovered, they named it Tierra del Fuego because the natives that lived near the shoreline of this southern Argentine peninsula area, whatever you want to call it, every night they would line the shores with fire. And I'm not sure why they would do that, but they did that. And so the explorers that found that, they found it at night, and they found it with the fires burning, and it looked like the world was on fire, the horizon was on fire. So that's how Tierra del Fuego got its name, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool history, if you ask me. In this picture, you can see I'm on a boat. This boat, what it was is, in order to get from mainland Argentina to the island, you had to take a ferry. And this ferry, I mean, was ginormous. They would fit hundreds of cars and buses and motorcycles, everything on this ferry. So I was on this ferry, and then the ferry rides, I'm trying to think, probably like an hour long. It's not super long, but it takes a little while to get across. So we all load up on this ferry, and we get going across the bay here, to the mainland, and then it's still like another 6 hours from the time you cross that bay to the time you get to Ushuaia. And it's crazy because Rio Grande and like the areas prior to Rio Grande are still like flat desert area, and then you come down off of the mountains and you like get into this valley that's just like insane. When you're coming into Ushuaia, it looks like you're going from Arizona into Washington State or Northern Oregon. Like it is just a crazy experience. It's beautiful. It's super fun. It's just bizarre all the way around, but it's pretty cool. So this is once you cross over, or right before you cross over, I mean, there's this little like place where they sell, it's kind of like a gas station, but not a gas station, where they sell drinks and chips and all that stuff. And this sign is there. And I think there's another sign on the other side that they're just covered in stickers, which is pretty cool. So I took a picture with that sign. So it says, "Welcome to the island of Tierra del Fuego." So I think this is the one once we already crossed. This is Ushuaia. It is, like I said, it's beautiful. This little like ramp area was super touristy. And it was in my area. And my area went from the bay all the way up into these mountains into a little area called La Cima, which was the seam between the city and the like mountain area. Excuse me. And it was just bizarre to walk up there. There's people that literally lived in pretty much cardboard boxes. It was bizarre. It was bizarre. My second area, I got transferred out of this area after one transfer, and my second area that I got sent to is Montelivia, which I'll talk about in later episodes, I'm sure. But that area was like, all the houses looked like cardboard boxes. Like, it was crazy. It was super crazy. And people would give us directions, not in this area, but in my second area in Ushuaia, people would give us directions. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, go find so-and-so. They live in a house near a burnt down tree and this mangy looking dog." And that was literally how we'd get directions in the area. That happened more than one time. And it was like, okay, cool. Thanks. This is the sunsets. Like, Tierra del Fuego is just beautiful. You can see this mountain here in the background. This is Montelivia, Mount Olive. It's just beautiful. And then I can't remember, like, I think this is like the Four Sisters Mountain or something like that. I can't remember. Excuse me. Had to yawn again. 2 episodes in a row. Anyways, this was just beautiful, beautiful area that was just amazing to go travel to and to see. And I really want to go back really bad to travel there, because it's just beautiful. Here was my first P day in Ushuaia. We took a hike up the mountain to near one of the ski resorts. We just hiked up there. We took some pretty cool pictures. So this is on the way up. This is just another sunset picture. It was just beautiful. This is on the Chilean side. So there's the mountains that we were just looking at previous, and that was on the backside of Ushuaia, so headed to Rio Grande. This is on the east side, I believe, as if you were headed to Chile. And it's a super pretty area. More pictures from the hike. Got really hot, even though it was really cold. When you're hiking with a giant jacket on, it gets hot. There's my jersey, my Argentina jersey that I love and I still have to this day. Sadly, I've gotten fat and it doesn't fit me anymore. So there's me hugging the sign right at the top of the summit of that mountain. And there's my companion, Elder Reskin. So he brought his jersey. He didn't wear it, but he brought it. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool to take that picture with him. Elder Reskin and I got along pretty well for the most part. And cultural differences. I think that was one of the hard things with the Latin companions is cultural differences. In the U.S., we're genuinely a little bit more cold than a lot of the Latin countries. Latin countries, you could just see somebody, you have no idea who they are on the street, and stop and start talking to them, and they're very caring, and they'll invite you to their house for lunch and dinner and whatnot. I know it's more that way back east in the U.S., but here in back east, here in the West, I don't feel like it's so much that way. But I think a lot of the Latinos kind of struggled with the way that the U.S. missionaries were, and so that's probably the differences that we saw. We never really fought, but he was a really, really good mission companion, and I learned a lot from Elder Reskin. He was a phenomenal teacher, just like Elder Ladueña. Elder Reskin's native language, I believe, is Guarani, which is a native language to parts of Peru and Bolivia, but mainly Paraguay. It's just it's a really crazy language that just doesn't make sense. And a lot of times those people, they intermix Spanish because Spanish is the national language, and they get what they call chapara. Or chapara, I think it's what it's called. So they mix Spanish and or Guarani constantly, and it's a pretty crazy language. I had two companions from Paraguay, and they were very similar. Elder Salinas, who I was companions with later in my mission in Caleta. So that is our hike. Here's all the missionaries that went on the hike. This is a really fun zone. This was Elder Aviles. He's from Mexico. Me, Elder Peterson, and Elder Dixon. So they were companions with. Oh, I don't think he's here in this picture, but they were companions at this time with Elder Fabian, who ended up leaving, and I went and trained Elder Dixon in a trio with Elder Peterson, and it was really fun. Elder Taylor, Sister Oliveira, Sister Beasley, Hermana I don't remember. She was from Honduras though. Chirinos, I think. Crespo, who she was also in my district in Comodoro. Elder Dennis, who is also from he's from Uruguay. Elder Eskin from Paraguay, and then Elder Hollingsworth from Utah. I believe he's from Murray, Utah. That was a really fun zone. A couple of the people are missing from this picture here because they were sick, and then a couple of missionaries didn't want to go on the hike. So here's another hike. This hike was insane. This was called Laguna de los Tempanos, and it was a really, really hard hike. That ice is like feet thick also. I went up there in the middle of the summer, and it was still frozen solid. It was one of those hikes that almost never thought out. A lot of my pictures in Ushuaia are from hikes because we did a lot of hikes. That was our P-Day thing because we could actually go out and do things. And a lot of the missionaries really wanted to serve in Ushuaia for this reason. P-Days were really fun. It was a beautiful area. But the downside to Ushuaia, it was very, very, very hard to teach there. A lot of the people came there from different parts of the world. There were tons of people from the Dominican Republic. There was tons of people from Paraguay, Uruguay, Peru, Bolivia, all over the world. And it was a really, really hard environment to teach in. As I've said in a couple episodes, the further south you go, the colder it gets in Argentina. And they always say the colder it gets, the colder the people are. And that was very, very true. And it rang very true in this area because it was really, really hard to teach in Ushuaia. But it was a beautiful zone. It was a beautiful area. And I feel like I learned the most in my entire mission in this area. And I have a very, very strong desire, a strong pull to get back there as soon as possible. I talked to my wife. We both graduate college here in April. And I said, hey, when we go home, after we finish college here, I want to do two things before we start having kids. Go back to your mission, go back to my mission, and maybe travel to Europe one day if we can afford that. But those are two things that I really want to do is go visit our missions because those were times that it really shaped us to be the people that we are today. So here's more pictures from this hike. This Elder McDonald, I love this man to death. I don't remember his name, honestly. Elder Perez is his name. He's from Salta, Argentina. Elder Allen, who I still keep in contact with. I try to keep in contact with these two guys. They both live in Utah. He's in Logan. I think he's in Draper. And then me. We were the first four to make it to the top of this. Elder McDonald, Allen, and we all got to the top, and then Elder Perez joined us soon thereafter. This was a crazy hike because it was in like this valley. Like you get to the summit, it was in a valley, and there's this big lake in the middle, and you'd throw rocks in the ice, and it'd be poo, 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 poo. It was like a crazy sound, super cool. And then there was giant ice caves up there, so we went like spelunking in these ice caves, which I think I have a picture here. Another cool picture with Elder McDonald and Elder Allen. Here's the ice caves. That is ice. It was really hard. I wish I could have taken pictures of it. It's really hard to take pictures of ice. I had to pause my video there for a second, and my camera was having some issues, but I'm back. So what I was saying is these caves are really crazy because they're ice caves, and it was dark in there, so you had to have some sort of light, either a flashlight or your camera flash to take a good picture. So when your camera flash would go off, it would flash, and then it looked like rock. It was super weird. So I was trying to take pictures of like how smooth and beautiful the ice was in these caves, and it was just impossible to actually take a picture of it, which was kind of a bummer because I really wanted to see this work, but it didn't work out, which was okay. But crazy caves to go spelunking in and to kind of see. Here I took this picture also at the very top of the top of this hike, Laguna de los Tempanos. So almost all the pictures that are shown I took. So a lot of people would be like, where'd you get that picture? And I was like, I took those pictures. So luckily I went to the mission with a Canon PowerShot camera, which I thought I was going to get robbed so many times with that camera in my backpack. And I just always had that thing, whip it out real quick, take pictures. And it's a little bit bigger camera. It was really, really nice camera, and I got really good pictures thanks to that. This one, I think I took this picture too. So just another cool picture. This is just a giant, like, it was an island, giant rock right in the middle of this lake. And it just was super, it was really cool. There was water all the way around that rock and just protruded from the water. So that was pretty cool. There's the ice caves again. This is when we finally reached the back of them. They weren't super deep, maybe a couple 100 feet back. But it was really cool to go back in there. This was Mother's Day. So I was in Ushuaia for Mother's Day, and then I got transferred right before Christmas. I always got transferred before Christmas. It was the worst, but this was pretty cool. We were at Brother Barco's house, Hermano Barcos, who was one of our favorite members in the ward. We went to his house and were able to Zoom our families, or call our families via Skype. Excuse me, yawning again. And it was crazy. It's weird to look at my sisters here because they all look so little. Lindsay looks so little, and Macy just looks like a little baby. There's two of my best friends from high school, Jesse and Abby. They're awesome. They always made time to come say hi to me, which I appreciated. There we go again with friends in Zoom. So in this area, most of the time we never had to pay lot rent in cash, but this area required us to pay lot rent in cash. So that was a lot of money in Argentina. So I just thought I'd take a fun little picture with it and say I was rolling in it, which I wasn't. We were broke. So crazy. We had crazy times in this apartment. So this apartment, there was actually right next door to us, there was a prostitute home. And it was quite interesting. We would hear a lot of what was going on in there, and it was pretty crazy. I didn't realize the corruption that was in Argentina until I realized one day a police patrol unit came up, and I was like, oh, they're going to arrest the prostitutes. No, actually, they went and visited them. So one of the patrol drivers got out, had his visit, got out in the car, and then we watched the other one come in, have his visit, and leaving, get in the car, and brick walls, things echo. And so we heard a lot of the conversations that happened in the next door units and the neighboring units. And one night, my first transfer in this area, it was about 4 or 5 weeks into the area, we heard fighting at like 2 a.m. and screaming, and people, the women in that house were like screaming and freaking out. And all of a sudden we heard things breaking, and one of the women were thrown through the window, literally thrown through a window. Some guy threw one of the ladies through a window. And so the next day I was like, Elder Reskin and I were like, we've got to get this figured out. And the owners of our apartments lived just down the street from us. So we walked down there one day and we're like, hey, is the owner's home? And the owner's daughters were home. The owners were in, I believe, in Europe or Uruguay or something like that, traveling. And we told the daughter, we're like, hey, we're struggling with the neighbors. We call them night workers. We're like, they're night workers. It's obvious. We can tell. We can hear what's going on. And she kind of giggled and she's like, oh, I don't think so. And we're like, well, last night they had a guy there and he got into a big fight with them and he threw one of the women through the window. And she's like, no, that can't be. And we're like, yeah, it happened. And she's all like, all right, let's walk up there. And so we walked up to the property, which was just a couple 100 feet away, walked up, and she went and looked at the back window and it was just shattered out. And she's like, okay, I'm going to call my mom and dad. I'll get back to you. She never came back to talk to us, but what happened is they evicted those women from the apartment. And so like a couple minutes later, we heard her knocking on the door, go talk to the women and tell them, get all your stuff out of the apartment. You're leaving right now. And that's what happened. They were evicted. And it was pretty crazy. So just one of the many, many crazy stories from my time in Argentina. But it was funny. We'd go leave Law of Chastity pamphlets on their doorstep from time to time. just silly things you do as missionaries. We always found them in the trash can, in the community trash can after that. So anyways, that's pretty much it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys on the next one. Later.